Lately I've been living on a highlight. I've been up so high cause this my lifestyle. One thing I'ma tell you about my life. I'ma get it right now. Yeah. Yeah, my life. Right. Lately I've been living on a highlight. I've been up so high cause this my lifestyle. One thing I'ma tell you about my life. God send a light and it shine down. I've been running out of reason not to pray. I've been trying to find a time to meditate. I've been trying to tell myself that I'm okay. I think I'm finally on the way. I know the devil be plotting on me, but God got me. I know it's angels surrounding me, all they stay on me. I know my mama's prayer stronger than any army. Throw any weapon my way, man, you can't harm me.
Yeah, living high life in these trenches, time to skydive. Put my hand up to the Lord, now that's a high five. Finally made it out that water like I'm tie-dye. Used to move like action figures, now we life size. Got no shame, I'm bright, that Chick-fil-A to Popeyes. Never worry about clout, need to watch your mouth when you talk about Jesus.
Yes, sir. Oh man, we are back. First of all, before we even get into anything, I want to apologize for last week. I know we missed it, but life.
Yeah, man.
Life happens.
Yeah, can't really apologize for that, bro.
No, I apologize for missing the show. Not what was going on, but for missing the show to the listeners.
We had a little issue in the building.
Yeah.
We had an issue in the building.
A little issue.
And we weren't able to get
How many apologies we up right
like
now?
we needed to.
Shit, it's like 123 right now.
I ain't apologize for shit. Y'all motherfuckers can go back and listen.
I know how it is.
But we are here to
show
service
come
you.
out.
We're here to
No,
service you.
because I got a
with some
couple.
good
I
information.
got the text messages, so I had to apologize to people that got text messages for.
Oh, I was giving you the response I was giving the people that
for
sent
that.
the
Okay,
text.
all right,
Like,
I appreciate it. Yeah. So last week couldn't make it, but this week we are here, and we're gonna give y'all the best that we got.
back.
Let's do it right, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Boys and girls, haters of all ages, welcome to the UDK podcast. I'm your host, Jay Easy. To my left,
Hex.
to my right,
KG from DC.
in the middle,
This
in the building as always.
Jay Titter.
Oh man, wonderful to be here once again. I missed y'all last week, I swear. So full transparency, we were going to do the podcast last week. I was on assignments, and things happened, couldn't be here. But we are with y'all once again today. Hopefully y'all appreciate the.
We had an act of God.
Oh, you ain't don't even do that, bro.
We had an act of God.
Oh man, we do. Lord have mercy. Hex, how you feeling?
Man, I'm super good, super blessed. Want to say that, want to put that in the ethos. So grateful for the new opportunity I have. It is challenging. It is something I've needed because I was telling you I was working from home and doing something different, and wasn't around people, and it was having an impact, bro. So not only do I have the ability to have some colleagues and some people to speak to throughout the week, but I have new opportunities come my way, and it's just everything I was looking for, and then I got the pod, and I know there's so much that needs to be spoke on and talked about, and so I'm super good, I'm grateful to be here, blessed to be here, and humble to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Irv, how you feeling?
I'm maintaining, bro. Like, it's a lot of life happening right now, a lot of peaks and valleys. I mean, it's like Hex says, I got a lot to be thankful for. Blessed in so many ways, fortunate in so many ways. But a lot of the emotional stuff going on, it's just like I said, maintaining one day at a time, bro.
One day at a time. And I'm going to get to KG in a minute, but we will have a conversation outside, and, life will start to fight and you won't even know it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll be going along, everything good, and then life will like throw a punch. You be like, what happened? And life be like, yeah, it's up. And you won't even realize what's going on until you're in it. But the good thing for people who have people in their corner, you have to have a cut man. And you have to have people, you have coaches, you have people in your life that are there for you, who will hold you down and be in the corner like, yo, this is going on, but we here for you. And hopefully and prayerfully, everybody listening to our show has somebody in their life. They have a cut man, they have a coach, they have somebody in their life that can be there for them, and be able to help them through the difficult times. I pray that for everybody who listens to the show.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I pray that for all of y'all. KG, how you feeling?
All right, so obviously my man was watching Lomachenko fight when I was. But
Sticky move.
anyway, life is definitely punching me right now. But the whole thing about having a family is being able to depend on people. And as much as your ego might not want you to lean on them, that's what they're there for. And you got to learn that, and that's one of the hardest lessons for men, period. So how am I doing? I'm hanging. But how I see it is I'm growing. So that's how we supposed to do this. This is how we are trying to do this. Rest in peace to Tina Turner.
Yes, absolutely.
For people who have gone through it, like they gone through it. And therefore ain't no need for me to complain, but I'm still angry and ready to pop.
Absolutely. JR, how you feel?
Hey, man, to go back on KG's saying, shout out to Anime Bullock, as we know as Tina Turner. Man, and we lost a good one this week, and I want to give an early shout out. I know it's not a shout out point, but it's an early shout out. And if you guys look over your shoulder, she made it to our Mount Rushmore of
Before death.
Yes.
And maybe it was something that was itching that she came up on our Mount Rushmore maybe 2 weeks ago.
All right, let's not put it that way, because now we're gonna be worried that Sade go past. Let's not.
No. But if you notice, it's the Mount Rushmore is adjustable, and that's like a theme for life. You can't be afraid to say today I thought this way, tomorrow I think, and so everything is ever moving in our lives and ever changing. And I'm glad that right now, as we get into this pod tonight, is that she's, right behind the maestro. Right behind the maestro.
On the wall.
Absolutely.
Easy, how you doing?
Wonderful. Wonderful. Had a great weekend last weekend. Had prom for my oldest. She's 18.
Speak on it.
Man, let me not get off on a tangent.
Oh no, go on a tangent, because
Is it?
if I were not here and didn't know you, and you said you had a great weekend and your daughter went to prom, I would be curious as hell how that turned out to be great.
So I had to drive to Baltimore for my oldest daughter's prom, right? And I get there, and I see her, and she comes downstairs, and she has on like her regular clothes. She has like bonnet on, and I see regular dress. She had like big baggy sweatpants on and a hoodie and all that.
Baltimore clothes.
Cool, yeah. She has all that. All the kids, all the kids wear it. They wear like hoodies and sweatpants all the time,
Baltimore.
right?
I'm
all
just
the time.
showing up Baltimore.
That's what they wear. That's like a uniform now, right?
Right.
So she comes down, speak, hey, how you doing? Blah 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 blah. Yeah, okay. I'm get dressed. Okay, cool. She goes upstairs, and she comes downstairs, and her hair is immaculate, her makeup, her dress, her shoes, just everything is just amazing. And I'm looking at her, and the only thing that I could think of is when she was a baby, and she was in the NICU for the first 2 weeks of her life. And I remember her as a child with like a tube in her nose, and being in the little glass case, what I'm saying, with the monitors on. That's the only thing I can see.
Yeah.
Right? That's all I see when I look at her. And now when I look at her as a grown woman at 18 about to graduate, I'm just like,
game over, man.
Crazy. Yeah, man. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, this is.
And she's so much like you.
Yeah, she is. Lord have mercy, she is annoyingly so. But it's not annoyingly. She
Annoyingly so.
Yeah, like in a
good way.
The temperament and the thinking she knows everything, all that. But when I see her, I look at her, I'm just like, this is not even black excellence. This is excellence. This is the goal. This is the goal. And when you're a parent and you're trying to raise your kids the right way, and you're bringing them up to a certain age, and when you see them at a certain point, it's just like you reflect and you're like, wow.
This is the referendum on all the hard things and hard feelings and hard situations that you had to go through to get her here, and then to be like, oh, this is the result.
This is it.
Yeah,
this is it. I know. Irv. I don't want to speak like I was the only one. I know Irv had a prom situation to deal with his oldest, and I don't know if you felt the same way, but with her, I was kind of like, it was sweet, but it was bittersweet. You know what I'm saying? It was bittersweet because it was like, I understand that I'm the parent and you look up to me for guidance, but at the same time, it's like you're your own person now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's a different perspective that I have.
Another stage in the game.
At this age versus her being a child and just being like, all right, I know you think you know but this is what and now it's just like, I gotta listen to you.
Right.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? For
me, it was the first time of actually coming to grips with, like you said, your little girl is a lady now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And not seeing her in that way, or seeing her in that way for the first time. I mean, you're so proud at the process, but then again, it's like that part of you that's like, I wish my baby would never grow up.
Right.
You know, it's just the reality of it. And you know, but to see the smile on her face and the happiness in her accomplishment, getting that far, and being excited about the next part of her journey, of our journey, you know, it's humbling. It's a blessing, and you're excited, but you know, you're concerned about, you know, what's next.
Yeah.
You know,
the defense is up.
Tune in. Ask JR.
Right.
Yeah, JR. I know you. Yeah, man.
Been there.
Yeah, JR's he's been down this path further than us, and it really hit me when we were there, and full transparency, my daughter has a issue with overstimulation, right? So she has an issue with it, right? So she's there. And all of her friends, all of her family are there, and, you know, we're having a good time, but everybody's attention is on her.
right.
And I can see her, like, starting to have an issue. I feel it. So when I look at her, it's this thing we do, like, we breathe, and we bring our hands up, and then we bring them down, and then we spread them out. That's how we calm down. Because I taught her that when she was little. So she was there, and I could see it, and I just... brought my hands down, and she looked at me, and she did the same thing, and it was like, God, man, it was like,
She
man,
still got it.
she's still my little girl. Like, it's in there. You grown, but you're still my little girl. It's like, I got you. So it was a blessing, man. This weekend was a
beautiful pics, by the way.
thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, Herb too. Yeah, absolutely.
Both young ladies look
both
amazing.
young ladies were
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Beautiful black
man.
queens.
Yes, absolutely. All right, we're gonna enough reminiscing and doing all that. We're gonna get into it.
Let's go.
First topic, subject of the day. We brought up a few pods ago, really quickly. I think it maybe was like a segment or half a segment. The debt ceiling, and I'm not really too sure how many. I feel like our listeners will be kind of familiar with what the debt ceiling is. I do. Just arrogantly, I feel like the people that listen to us and rock with us know what the debt ceiling is. I don't know if I'm wrong for that. But
You sure?
Knowing what
Because that's not really a sexy topic.
It's
You know
not,
what I'm saying?
but-
So I just want to make sure let's go there. Let's start from the
we'll go there.
bottom.
All right, I'm gonna give y'all an analogy, and this is an analogy that I heard. I thought that was super dope. So imagine instead of a country, it's a person, right? And that person spends they pay their bills with their credit card. Right, so they have a credit card. Instead of their paycheck, they spend their money and they pay their bills with their credit card. Well, your credit card is about to get maxed out, but at any time you can just call and be like, "Hey, man, I want some more money on my spending limit on my credit card," and then you can get it raised, and then you can pay it like that.
If they agree.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's the part I want to add into this. So instead of think of them as people, but think them as a husband and a wife. It doesn't mean that you don't have more credit.
Right.
It simply means that one person who is in charge of the funds, male, female, whatever you want to be, the husband or the wife, has set a goal. And the goal is you don't go above this on the amount of credit
the limit.
you take
Yep.
out.
Yep.
For the
And
year.
I state that specifically because we have hit a debt ceiling almost universally every time
Oh, yeah.
for every president
Yeah,
we've
it's
had for innumerable amount of years. Don't take this as one president is better or worse than the other.
Right.
It simply is something that is continuous in the way that it goes.
Right.
And the debt ceiling is not congruous with the amount of money or tax income that we bring in. It is the way that you and I and all of us in America take care of our debt. Yes, you make a certain amount of money. You don't spend that amount of money on a yearly basis.
Right.
Instead, you bring in a certain amount of money and you kind of know what you're going to bring in. And then you decide, okay, so I have good credit, so I'm going to do certain things and I'm going to expand this way. This is how we buy houses, cars, and everything else. For the people who live in Africa and other worlds that decide to not act in this way, which is way more responsible, anyway, they don't do that. Just like when we got off the gold standard. Anyway, we're not going to get in too deep, but we want you to get an idea of what a debt ceiling really is about. So the whole idea is that you actually have a certain amount of money and that America up to, I don't want to throw out a year because it was fairly recently. America had a AAA rating, which means that you have the best debt of any country in the world, and that's where it's going to be.
Best credit.
Yeah,
you
best
pay your
credit,
bills.
best
We
credit.
paid our bills for years.
Debt credit, and I misspoke, but it is about
Yeah.
the actual credit level that we had, which was AAA. And then that dropped to AA, which means your interest goes up. It doesn't mean that you don't still have the ability to buy, to get more money. It simply means it's going to cost you more. And people will tell you that, oh man, China owns everything in America and that's what it is. Well, actually, Japan owns
Japan
more
has
of our
more.
debt
Yeah, Japan has more.
than China does. And again, it's not that means everything, but it does mean that it's not what everyone is telling you when you hear it on the news.
So the bottom line, I guess, for the common man, for the regular folk who are just going about their lives, if we do not raise the debt ceiling, we go into default. We will go into default with the bills that, and it's weird talking about America with bills, right? It's kind of weird. It's like, yeah, America has bills that we have to pay. If we don't raise the debt ceiling, we go into default with the bills that we owe, and if we go into the default with the bills that we owe, just like a regular person, guess what? Your interest rate is going to go up. Your credit score, just like you said with AAA and AA, it's going to go down. So the confidence in you paying your bills is going to go down. So if we do that, you're going to look at your credit card statement one day, and you had 13%. Yeah, it's going to be like 33%. Your mortgage was 3%. Yeah, your mortgage is going to be 13%.
Right.
It's going to go crazy, and this is unprecedented.
Well,
it's never happened.
let me put it a different way. For the common man, the country has a certain amount of money available, and we ran out of money.
We're going to run out of money.
We're
going to.
and we're based on the fact that we've already allocated dollars towards certain things. We are going to run out if we don't agree to allow there to be more money put into our piggy bank. Right now, we haven't lost our credit rating.
Not
we
yet.
still are AAA.
Not yet.
AA.
We're
still AA.
We are AAA. I'm gonna send it to you. We are AAA. However, if we do not pay, we will go to AA. As in fact, it quotes, America's top credit rating could be downgraded if the government
Defaults.
defaults.
Yeah.
Okay? And in their words, edges over. Meaning, if you spend more than we have and aren't able to pay back what you owe, the reason why it's important, and I know you're thinking, well, what's it got to do with my job?
Yep.
Everything.
That's
Everything.
the common part where I'm so upset why they haven't put it on TV every day. Instead of just treating it with a topic like debt ceiling, you need to tell people, let me tell you how quickly your whole world would change. If you think you're comfortable in America now, if we really don't put the money together to pay the bills and be put in a different position, what would happen is we would find ourselves a little more like Mexico. You think that the wheel keeps turning with people buying, therefore the companies have and can continue to invest in each other. Have you looked around with all these unemployment signs? Are you really paying attention? Are you looking at all the shopping centers that have 4 or 5 stores that have gone away? Are you paying attention? What has happened is we have spent money on certain things that certain groups have fought for. We've either increased that particular company or that particular interest budget, and it took away money from something else that would have been more vital to the community or to your particular neighborhood. And as a country, it's piece by piece, city by city, thing by thing, organization by organization. You will chump it off at the beginning because you've always lived your life with someone paying your own bills. And now they're telling you the truth is we're not generating enough revenue. That's really where it comes from. So the question isn't, well, won't they produce some more money or just agree to spend some more money? The problem is, why aren't we able to have that revenue available and put back into the system to make the wheel go around, and people are completely unaware of it? And I get it because we don't want to panic. We still want the mall and cable and our cars and whatever else we spend on and the restaurants and the things. But this is real.
Yeah.
And I understand we're so cute to chump it off. Like, man, just spend, come on. And I get the problem with, I'm sure if you caught some of these political shows, what has happened is the discussion is about where we spend the money.
Yeah.
So yes, we actually have the money. The problem is there's two sides fighting for where the money should be spent. And at the end of the day, neither one needs as much as they're asking for. But if you don't ask for it as much as you do ask for, then what happens is they give you less. And then you're not sure if you can really do what you told your constituents you could do with the amount of money you said would be available.
So money is a funny thing. It fluctuates. I'm sorry. Money is a funny thing. It kind of fluctuates. And so my question is, how judicious were we in what we did? So in other words, if something is costing you $2,000, some people would say, hey, if you didn't pay X amount of interest, but if it had to be done at that time, then to me, the debt is kind of justified that you're accruing. So the question becomes, I know a lot of times we say like we're in this particular state. I think it's more careless spending rather than, but we're always asked to tighten our belt at a certain point in time. And that's the question about this country. Can we actually tighten our belt when it's time to tighten our belt, knowing that the deed was done? Okay? Because sometimes some things have to be done at a particular place at a particular time. And sometimes if you overspend for something, to me, in my opinion, that ultimately becomes worth the while down the road, then it's like, ultimately you're going to pay now or you're going to pay later.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And the question is, are we just simply saying we're paying later? But the question is, have we been judicious with what we have put out there to the point where ultimately we're going to say it was worth it to be in this situation? So I can't just look at this as a black and white blanket statement, that because numbers are so deceiving sometimes. Because you got to talk about time, you got to talk about numbers, and I know math is a very exact science. So it's if ultimately you spent X amount and then you expect to get X amount, then it's going to be what it's going to be. The question is, to me, the jury is still out as to, was it a situation where we were in a situation where we had to do what we had to do at the time?
Well, all right. So let me explain the problem with the debt ceiling. So in order to increase the debt ceiling, it has to go through the legislature, right? It has to go to Congress. They have to agree.
Power of the purse.
Right. They have to agree that this is what we're going to raise our debt ceiling to. So let me go back to my original analogy, right? So let's say you pay all your bills with your credit card, right? So when it comes time to increase the amount of your credit card, all you have to do is call the bank and say, hey, I want to increase the amount of my credit card. But in your household, your wife wants you to spend money on cable. You want to spend money on
McDonald's
gym memberships and food, right? You want to spend money on that. And your kids say, okay, well, we need fast Wi-Fi. Like, that's what we need. So everybody has this thing that they want to make sure that they spend a majority of the money on. But you have to agree before you decide that you're going to raise the debt ceiling. Well, right now, all of the kids.
And you have 50 kids.
Right. Right. You got 50 kids. Everybody is like, well, we don't need to spend money on
your thing,
Disney Plus. We need to spend this on Grubhub, or we need to spend this. That's where the legislation is right now. We have to agree on what we want to spend the money on going forward before we decide to raise the debt ceiling. And it's a shit show.
This is all some bullshit.
I'm about to say about.
All of this is some bullshit. First of all, these are bills that we have already incurred. This isn't new spending. This is stuff that we've already obligated ourselves
That's how they sell it.
Why is it that this was not a conversation the entire time that 45 was in the presidency? This is a curiosity.
Because he was running up the debt ceiling.
No. He was cutting revenue by
running up the debt.
By cutting the taxes for the rich folks.
Yeah.
And then he made the temporary tax cuts for the middle class and the poor folks to make it seem like they were getting the same thing, even though the rich folks' tax cuts were permanent. This is about the Republicans having no real power, and this is the only thing that they can do to act like they're actually doing something responsible, which in the grand old scheme of things is very irresponsible, because like all of y'all have identified, this affects not just our country's credit rating. This will affect us globally. Okay, if the poor conservative people that routinely vote against their own interests thinks that inflation is bad now, and
they have no idea what's coming.
They have no idea.
What makes it worse is their representatives, specifically MTG and Matt Gaetz, people like that have the nerve to say most Americans, and when they're talking about Americans, they're just talking about conservatives. Most Americans aren't even concerned with the debt ceiling. Well, as a representative, that's your fault. You're supposed to have your constituency up to date and knowing what the hell is going on, and that this is something that's important, and that this is something that needs to be taken care of.
Yeah.
You should actually be coming out with honest plans outside of saying, well, you need to cut everything, but I'm not going to say that I'm going to cut any of my programs or any of the programs in my state, all of the majority of which are states that we have to lend money to. So for you to have the audacity to say that is just amazing to me. But then on top of that, you're trying to act like this isn't something that is detrimental to our country. It's something that we've done year after year after year, and you're making it into something bigger than it needs to be, specifically for partisan purposes.
All right, so for one thing, we have already established that MTG's real name is Mask, and we're not going to
Rocky Dennis. Hey,
we're not
KG,
calling her.
We're going to hell for this whole thing.
I'm with it.
First of all, I am never going to hell for describing that woman. Second of all,
the devil is rich.
Second of all, when we talk about lining pockets, every law that gets passed, everything that goes through is about ballooning something for individual states. We all see this happening, and then Republicans and Democrats go through this dance that they do to show who has the biggest peacock feathers and who can decide to push something through. The debt ceiling, again, I want to specify the fact that It's a decision made on how much debt we can accrue. It is not something that will stop you from doing anything. It is simply our idea on, hey, this is how far we should go this year, because it happens every year, regardless of who the president is. Understand that the income and the income tax and multiple taxes, because it's not just income tax. Don't take that specifically. It has to do with multiple taxes that go across the board around America. And those taxes add toward the amount of income that America gets. And we could actually live on that if we wanted to. But we've decided many years ago, especially after wars and any type of displacements. Displacements include national disasters. They include wartime. They include when the system just falls apart. So let's say you happen to have a president that puts you into a deficit, and then on top of that you happen to have COVID. I'm not saying that happened during 45, but it did. And then you have that situation, and then that person wants to run again and tell you that, see, if they had just listened to me, it would have happened, it would have worked. They're lying to you. But that's fine. You decided already that you want to believe this person. Cool. What you're not understanding about debt ceiling and why we can talk to people and say, hey, why don't you understand or want to have this recompense conversation with the people that serve under you, it's because they don't want to have to explain how they want to continue to rack up these debts of overpaying for things and giving all these new missiles and new planes, even though we are well ahead of almost 100% of the world. We definitely have, I want to say, 20 times the bombs of everyone in the world. But let's just talk about the things, the competitive things that we no longer do anymore, like fight hand to hand. Like, that's not really the way the world works anymore. But we're not going to get into all of that. We're just going to speak on the things that just cost money all the time. We spend an absorbent amount of money on our military. That's not even including our spy work and everything else, even though Israel has the best spy work in the world, and they are tiny as hell and probably about the size of Texas. Maybe Alaska.
We're flexing.
Let's just say Israel's the size of Alaska. That country by itself has a better spy work than anything else in the world, and we are overspending all of these things to simply catch up to them in that way because we want to fund Lockheed Martin. We want to fund all these other things. We want to make sure that it's not important that all our streets get taken care of and things like that. We're willing to cut all that. But here is the point, and I'm going to bring this point together. What everyone will put on the line, and this is the Democrats' response, and the only big joker they have in their pocket. If you take away from Social Security to do this, which is the biggest pot, one of the biggest pots out there, then you are disrespecting not only veterans, but anyone who's bought into it. And that is the only thing that ever stops Republicans from going overboard and absolutely screwing the whole system.
Yeah, and that's one of the caveats. That's one of the cuts that is on the table that we know is I'm not gonna say a firecracker, but that's a hot button. That's a hot button.
The Republicans only believe in cutting social programs or programs that they think that they can say are handouts to some people, even though the vast majority of people receiving their handouts
vote for them.
You know, that's just between that and the fact that another thing that makes me realize that how partisan this issue is 45 was asked himself, why is it that it wasn't an issue, or that you're telling Republicans to hold the line now that you're not the president? And
exactly.
He said, because I'm not the president. It's like, but so you're doing this for your partisan people.
Yes.
You're not doing this for the American. I mean, even though, like I said before, the American people to them is their conservative voters.
So, here's the problem: people aren't truly invested in knowing what's going on. You don't know what's going on. You haven't Googled it.
No.
You don't know where the money's spent. you talk like you do. It's easy to talk like you do versus be knowledgeable and be able to back it up with facts. Now, if you heard someone else say it and you repeat it, then that just makes you a crony because everybody got ears who have ears. But that don't make it true. You don't know when someone brings up, as KG brought up the government, that we've heard those expressions used before when it comes to the military.
Right.
We have 3 times the amount of military as other people, blah, 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 fucking blah. But you don't know what it takes to motherfucking make the motherfucking military what it is to keep your motherfucking bitch ass safe. You're clueless. You can't speak on a number because you're clueless.
Flex.
What you're repeating is what you heard. And I don't mind saying it to anybody. You're repeating what you heard. You know it works in your household for your budget. You know how much you can spend to still pay for this, and that, and still get some Popeyes on Friday. If you don't know the number, you can't really speak on it. If you didn't ever care, you can't act like you do now if you even know what the debt ceiling is. That's number one. All right. So let's keep it 100 in the notion that you don't even know where the United States money is even spent on. Yeah. So stop acting like you know where the fucking money is spent. You don't. But the problem is you don't. Yeah. So if we get to a point where your livelihood is threatened, wouldn't you at least like to know where the fucking money is spent? And if you're speaking on it and don't know where the money is spent, then you're giving me what? A guess, a thought, a feeling. But that doesn't come with fact. It doesn't come with facts at all. Now we've heard about the golden toilets, right? That they get budgeted in. That's something you can throw in there. But you can't tell me how much it costs to keep you safe. You can't speak on that. How many people keeping you safe is worth it per day? Yeah. And so if you don't know where the other money is spent, right? That means you're really not invested in knowing where your country's money is spent at all. Yep. And the problem what we should have as a nation is there should be something, as I spoke about before, we need to have something that every month you know how you get your monthly bill, your monthly statement from your bank? Yeah. The same thing should happen to the country for all Americans. You get the monthly statement. It tells you what was spent on what. Now, the problem is, how deep are you going to go to find out what these certain things mean and where that money went to? Because I understand it seems simplified for you to act like they spent what on libraries last year? They spent what on parks last year? And it sounds noble to say we need our roads done and this and this and that. But if you don't know how much money is allocated to do it, you know, like again, if you got $20 in your account, you know how much Popeyes you can buy and can't buy. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know, then you can't say, I can't believe they spending money on A, B, C, and D if you don't know how much it costs for the other things.
So it's simply stated what you're saying in so many ways, Hex, is the term, the debt ceiling, is only relevant if it's relevant before it becomes relevant. So in other words, if they're saying the debt ceiling, we should have been talking about this before. If you weren't talking about it before.
Oh, we were.
Before it became.
Some were.
No.
And the majority were not.
Before it becomes.
And that's all things.
Because of things.
Oh, no, UDK was. Yeah. We spoke on this.
We were.
But here's someone's calling for the bread for the thing that you bought before, or you have a certain thing that you wanted to buy, but you ran out of money. Your card note is due, right? But you don't have any more money in the bank, so you can't make your payment. Right. Yep. But somebody's like, but I thought buying a car was a good idea right now. It is for the president to get him from A to B. And he does need a helicopter to get him from A to B. He does need a protection to make sure he's safe. But you didn't know how much that would cost, so you can't speak on it because all you know is that there's a budget that's created. There's a budget that's created.
It doesn't matter until it does.
Well, all down. There you go.
And that's
only. But the problem is, you should have known you were almost out of money. Right. You should have known you was a check away from out of money. But 2 checks from out of. But you didn't know any of that.
But you know what? Most of the country. So this is the wild shit. Most of the country lives check to check.
Without a doubt.
On a individual basis.
Hold up. Throw out a number, so an adjustable number for what people understand what most of the country.
It's like 90% of the country.
It's literally like 90% of the country. If they missed a check, if they missed a check, they be homeless. Like that's where we are. Well,
I think it's 2.5, but I'm just to be exact.
Yeah.
But I'll look it up.
Not one check because
Right.
the debtors don't really come.
Matter of fact, let's make it more.
They're gonna give you some time for to put you on the street.
Let's make it more real than homeless, because most people can't conceive of themselves being homeless. 90+% of the population cannot take a $1,000 bump.
Yep.
One bad thing happens and they have to put up $1,000. They can't take that without going into default.
Yep.
Now, default doesn't mean you're on the street the next week. It means that you already are in a problem that you cannot solve. Let's understand it in that way. I'm sorry.
And I think someone mentioned, either it was in the State of the Union address or something like that, where someone mentioned like the average American does not have $400 for an emergency if something happened.
I couldn't hear it because Mask was saying something about somebody lying.
But that's a fact. But that's a fact. So if you think the majority of the country is like that, and then you also find out that the country is like that. Like, it's different. Okay, most of the people that live in your neighborhood is like that, but the country is like, we in the same boat. Just imagine.
But it's self-inflicted, though. I mean,
It's so-
it is.
yeah.
You wouldn't sit there and say, I am not going to raise my debt limit right now.
Gotta
Right,
do
if
that.
I could.
But what I would say is, the problem isn't it's like you're out. We have people who are outraged only in hindsight, and then we have people who chose not to be involved when they could be involved.
Yeah.
You have people who, and I want to definitely put this in the ethos. I understand that your personal feelings about it won't change the scenario, but you know how you don't get fooled at 3-Card Monte? When you know there's a guy who plays on this corner a game called 3-Card Monte. So you have to decide at some point you're willing to at least be aware of how things work. It's not that you're the savior. That's not what this topic is like. Why aren't Americans out there black? Come on, black folks. Come on. What's up? What's wrong with y'all? The debt ceiling's here. No. What we're saying is, did you know that our country was in a position where they were vulnerable?
Yep.
Did you know that there's money being spent in ways that it shouldn't be spent? Do you know whether or not you voted for someone who has spent some of our money in such a way that doesn't benefit our country? That impacts how you vote. When you're aware, you do better. When you know better, you do better. It's for real.
Because there's a president that had more. He created more debt
than any
Anyone
president
in history.
Come on.
I forget. Damn.
And we got people right now fighting to bring him back.
And he was
Tripping over themselves.
And he was on the town hall.
Clown back.
He was on the town hall CNN. I forget. Is it? Damn. I
Yeah,
forget.
for the
Trump, I think it ends in his last name ends in an F.
Yes, it does.
The way it's originally spelled, it ends in an F.
Actually, the way I say it starts with an F. But anyway, what I was going to say was that let me put some things in perspective, because I want y'all to understand something when we talk about debt ceilings. There are 2 countries who have a relative debt ceiling together that are extremely high. It is America and Denmark. Denmark has about 5.8 million people, and America has 330 plus 330 plus million people. So I say that to say that Denmark spends about 10% of their debt ceiling on a national basis regularly. America ups theirs every year. Now, America is teetering on 29 trillion. I say that with a T. Don't confuse this with Bezos. $29 trillion worth of debt. Understand these things and be able to encapsulate this in your mind when you're having this conversation. These are decisions that we make. This is what we do. But we don't have to be in a debt ceiling every year. The way that Denmark understands that we don't have to reach for the ceiling every year. We simply can live on what we do. They have no interest in pushing it every time. They just simply understand, we can do what we want to do. That's our problem and our ego.
You know, this whole situation with the Republicans versus the Democrats and all this shit, this is really just an extension of the culture war. If you really look at this, extension of culture war. This is We want these people to be demonized, and we don't want to pay for what they do. But at the same time, in reality, the people who vote for us, y'all get the same thing. But look at these people. This is an extension of culture war. And if we don't start, like Heck was saying, if we don't start to vote in our own interests, and some of the people, if you're listening to this and you know somebody that votes against their own interests, please send them this.
Yeah.
Please send them this.
That's it.
Because at the end of the day, it's not worth it, and it's going to it's going to come back on you. It's not karma, but
how would you
Hell, it
feel
ain't.
if our country crumbled in such a way that you felt the impact and your vote contributed to it?
Fuck that. How would you feel if your parent who went to the Vietnam War is no longer getting their benefits or their medical
Talk about
in the way they should be because your person that you voted for decided that it was more important that they won an election?
because the person you voted for is more entertaining.
Let's go.
Let's go. Hey man, we up on it. Wonderful segment. I'm gonna definitely need a drink after that. I know the debt ceiling isn't really, like Hex was saying, it's not sexy. It's not, it's not explosive. It's not emotional. But guess what? If this shit go left, yeah.
Is Skid Row sexy?
You was
Oh, man,
worried
it's
about
bad.
how much them eggs was costing about 3 or 4 months ago. See how
Speak
much
on
them
it.
eggs.
Speak on it. $15 a car. They be selling eggs on the corner.
I told
Think
you.
I got eggs.
I told y'all get me a chicken. I told y'all I'm gonna get me a chicken. Don't ask me where I got it from.
Buy your next house at 10% interest. see how sexy that bitch is.
Hell yeah. Hex, give me one.
UDK.
Skin soft as peaches, pulled straight from the tree. Voice smooth as criminals, MJ would sing about. Only hit me late at night, what a tease. I think it might be fate, the two of us, me. We got a good thing, you got me for your needs. Vent about your day, then we side to the sheets. Honestly, hope you don't call me next week to tell me you love me, cause I'd have to leave. I'm just your part-time lover, don't need full-time hours, want no time and a half. I'm just your part-time lover, don't need full-time hours, can't give nothing you ask. Oh, for dinner I'll have you with a glass of wine. I don't bring no flowers. Wait, I really wish you well. That's if you couldn't tell. I had you from the jump, but last time that we talked, you told me go to hell, but still, I really wish you well. That's if you couldn't tell. I had you from the jump, but last time that we talked, you told me go to hell. Back to where you came from, running out of patience, in and out of love. You tell me that you fucking hate me. I think I'm getting tired of waiting. You bit that damn forbidden fruit. That tree and knowledge came a curse. Can't kill my addiction to you. Remind me summer can't enable you. Killed the love of it too. You truly my sins I can't label, baby. I say the same for you. We be just like Shabbat and his brothers. Even if I would go right through it, but you ain't messing with me later. Can't say nothing else but to you. I said like, wait, damn, I really wish you well. That's if you couldn't tell. Yeah, I had you from the jump, but last time that we talked, you told me go to hell. I really wish you well. That's if you couldn't tell.
Yes, sir. Oh man, I really wish you well.
I really wish
Let's
you
go.
well.
I was
Yeah.
digging that.
Oh,
That's
man.
a vibe right there.
Shout
That's a
out
little
to
bounce.
Shout out to Dende. He got it back to back. So the one that we went out from the last segment, and then this one was the same dude. So
That sounds like May.
May.
This is May.
Yeah, there
It
you
sounds
go.
like May.
There you go.
It
There
sounds
you-
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
right, like Oh,
the right vibe.
I might have the summertime vibe. Good.
Yeah. Dende had there will probably be a lot more songs from him. Those are just the ones I like the best. But yeah, I just found out about him.
Don't say the best. Like there's.
Oh no,
it's more to come.
Oh, it's more to come. It's more to come. Yes. We back.
We bike.
So during the week, we usually like to put articles into the group chat. Things that stand out, things that get our attention.
Y'all have no idea how many articles go into the group chat.
But there was one article in particular that stood out that's going to flow into another topic that we have. It has to do with social media. Hex, if you could just take us through it real quick, because I know you actually put it into the group chat and we had a lively debate about the subject. But if you could take us through it real quick.
Right. What happened was a young man named Ja Morant, who is a excellent basketball player, Absolutely. An NBA basketball player.
Absolutely.
As we speak. And this young man is, unfortunately, being young, made some choices and decisions to put himself on social media, displaying a gun at the time. He got suspended for a few weeks based on previously doing so, and then did so again. Now, some people blamed the friends for even showing it, but the truth was this is what was happening. He is now suspended from all activities at the Memphis Grizzlies facilities. He has now had his shoe taken off
Nike.
The shelf.
Yeah.
The Ja Morant ones. Right? $200 million deal. Now, I'm assuming he already got the money. So how it works from this point, I don't know. But this is what he put in risk so that he could show society that he was still cool. He was still down. He was a real one. He was a player. He don't play that. He got one of those. If you want it. Now, that's how I see it as a black man. Because I know, Easy, one of the things that you brought to the table was in the state of Tennessee, and he lives in Memphis, Tennessee, you can brandish a weapon.
Open carry.
Open carry.
Yep. Open carry.
So the idea of him choosing to do so was just a symptom of where he happens to reside. The only difference is, in my eyes, and only my eyes, because the young man put out a tweet this week. This is why we're going there. He put out a tweet this week that he was saying, bye to his mother. He was saying bye to his father. He was saying bye to his daughter. And then he had a picture of himself turned with his back to the gate, being a picture of his back saying bye. And so they sent someone to his home wondering if
police,
welfare check.
Welfare check.
Welfare check, yeah.
Verify. Are you okay? What's going on, man? And as the tweets went out and the news ran with the story, was saying here's someone who seems like they're crying for help, because who tells somebody bye other than someone who wants the people to get the message that I'm saying bye
in their life, yeah,
right. And if it's that serious, but what we have is a situation where it's twofold. We're talking Ja Morant as an individual, and then we're talking the impacts of social media as a whole. The outlet for that to even be some way for you to speak on, letting anyone and everyone know how you feel at the moment, what you're doing at the moment, what you're eating at the moment, what you're typing at the moment, what pictures you've just displayed at the moment, and how it impacts society And more importantly, our kids, the Surgeon General just put out a report, okay? And it was saying, like, the impact of social media on our children is detrimental.
Yeah, it's unsafe. Yeah.
You think it's harmless. And I mentioned this in the group chat, the war room earlier this week. Like, people think it's all the kids who are under 15 are just doing Snapchat, making smiley faces and weird pictures of themselves. And this is what I look like as a baby, and this is what I look like if I was bald headed, and all these distorted faces. And that's not true. Mm-hmm. And it's chipping away younger and younger every day. And the studies have shown it. So even if you don't have a kid, or you had a kid 20 years ago, or you had a kid yesterday, and you don't have a 5 to 10 to 15-year-old now, then you don't know what's really popping as we speak. And unfortunately, your children are being susceptible to feeling loved at every moment, liked at every minute, paid attention to at every second, or else.
I had a question. I have a question for the group. And I'll start with Irv. Do you feel as if society is getting worse and social media is reflecting it, or social media is making society worse?
It's both. I mean, they're contributing to one another. It's almost like they have like a synergy, I guess, for lack of a better term. It's like Hex was saying, it's this generation is so in a hurry to publicize their lives in real time. It's that important for everybody to see what you're doing or what the newest craze is. And unfortunately, we as a society can't seem to get enough of it. I mean, it's like certain people can't seem to get enough of it. That's why they can make the money. That's why it has the popularity that it has. This is one of them, to me, the genie's already out of the bottle type of thing. So I don't know how you can put it back. It's not like you're going to, is it going to be federally restricted? Is the government or the state's going to do something to, like Hex was saying, part of what the Surgeon General was saying was that you should limit the time that the kids have. Like, they should only be able to do it in spurts for maybe like an hour or hour and a half or so. And
right.
Take regular breaks in intervals as well. But again, how are you going to be sitting there policing? Because a lot of the times those are
your work hours.
I think this is pertinent to the John Morant situation. But not only that, but in a lot of these cases, the parents are just as active on social media as the kids are. So how is it that unless you have parental controls and your own self-control, how is it that you're going to be able to police them?
Yeah, man.
Hex and I had a talk this week, off pod, and and just a one-on-one, I say mano-a-mano kind of talk about life. And the problem that I think we mutually, and I'm speaking for myself, but Hex can weigh in on this in a little bit. One of the problems that I had was, okay, it's a situation where I think that there's so much sensitivity now that we can't get right back down to the bottom line, okay? The bottom line of what's right and what's wrong. Because when you start to talk to people, there becomes this gray area of, you can't talk to him like this because maybe he's going through something. Mm-hmm. Or maybe this is that, and the other. And I understand that sensitivity. Believe me, I definitely understand it. As a parent, I understand that there could be a gray area that we don't really see. However, there is still the bottom line, and there's still things that have to be done. So when you take that away from me to be a guide to someone, because there's a little bit of tough love that has to go into all of this. And when you start to temper that for me, then I no longer know how to execute my knowledge as a man. Okay? I understand there's a certain sensitivity that we gotta kind of at least, I wouldn't say coddle, but we need to at least understand and hear out a person. But then when it comes to a situation, when bullshit is bullshit, then we got to say it's bullshit, okay? And then we got to say, hey, this is what's at stake. If I can't talk to a young man like that, then I can't talk to him at all, okay? There seems to be a cushion right now in society that says I have to preface what I say to you before I say it because I might actually hurt your feelings.
Speak on it.
Okay? But then I can't be the true man that I was. We all had depressions. We all had soft spots. We all had learning, but we had certain people. And I talk about, and Hex and I talked about this week, I talk about the John Thompsons of the world who actually cultivated an Allen Iverson. Okay? So everything that you see with Allen Iverson now is tempered by a man who said, hey, what you're doing is shit. But then ultimately he rose above that. But what happens is when we can't even say that now, I have to preface it by maybe I got to think about what you're going through and where you came from. And before I say this, this is what I have to say. I'm telling you as a man who's gone through certain discomforts, certain as a man who had parents who were immigrants that came to this country and had to learn on the hop. And I'm telling you that it's going to be okay. But at the end of the day, there's certain things we cannot do.
Well, see, let me tell you one of the things that's the problem. The kids aren't hearing whatever you're going through is going to be okay consistently. When we came up, we had The More You Know, the after school specials. It was things that was trying to tell you, man, look, if you think about smoking cigarettes, don't try that. Hey, if you think about skipping school, don't do that. If you think about depression and killing yourself and suicide, don't do that. Here's the number. We had the TV shows that went with it. Here's the episode where so-and-so did what, blah, blah, and then they saved them, right? We had those things because there was a culture that said if we don't cultivate those who are next, we won't have those who are next. And unfortunately right now what we have is with social media, as I showed y'all this clip this week, shout out to T.K. Kirkland all day. Shout out to
King.
Shout out to T.K. Kirkland, the comedian. He made a comment on Drink Champs, and he was like,
he's a life coach. The
kids are listening to grown folks' conversation.
Yeah.
And the problem with social media is that's what happens. They get whatever they're also listening, they're scrolling, whatever they normally click on. They get that, but they also get sprinkles of grown up shit.
Yeah.
And not to call John Morant a kid. He's not. To put two conversations together. In one hand, he is a young man who is dealing with the overwhelming sensation of being cared about and paid attention to. So the season's over, and he's decided, nigga, pay attention to me. Y'all always pay attention to me. And they're like, dog, it's y'all lost. He's like, no, what I got to do? What do I have to do to make you pay attention? And he just caught himself to realize, oh, you got to put yourself in a position to look like a fool with a brand new shoe deal. Nigga, really? Come on, bruh. I rock with you. My son, man, every time we play ball, and he's like, I'm Ja. And I just, over the last 2 weeks, had to be like, even I let the first one go. And he was aware of the first one. My son 8. You know what I'm saying? I let the first one go. But the second one, he's like, he got in trouble again, Dad? I'm like, bruh, he making poor decisions. And it was so funny that T.K. Kirkland kept mentioning in this interview on Drink Champs, people making poor choices.
Yeah. You know what? There's too much influence going on with, I don't want to say just the kids, but with people in general, especially when it comes to social media. There's too much influence. So like when you were younger, you had your friends who you rock with,
right?
And then you had your parents. That was the influence. You might have TV. You might have a few shows on TV every now and then. You know, you watch a show, oh, I like those shoes, or, oh, I like the way they dress, or, whatever they said. But now there's a constant influence of people who don't care about the ramifications of their influence. They don't care at all. They care about shock value. They care about attention. So they'll do anything they can to get that. But kids don't understand that. They'll see a challenge, or they'll see a trend, or they'll see something that's, you know, something that's popping online, and they'll see that and be like, oh, I need to do that. It's like, no. Why do you need to do that? Because they're getting attention. That's the currency now. Attention is currency.
You better know it.
And the second that attention turned into money, that's what shit went left.
And Jay, I just want to piggyback. Want to piggyback real quick on what you're saying. There is a social media maturity that we have to adapt. Okay, once you get to a certain age, to be honest with you, there's a social media. You have a so if this is here to stay, then there's a maturity that you have to understand that, hey, I need to back off. I need to season it. I need to, because in every generation there was a maturity of a level of something that was coming new that you would say, hey, I'm not going to engage with this beyond this point. But it just seems to be like it's just leaning on.
You know what? There's a point. So with my kids, especially, you know, with my oldest, there's a point where you have to tell your kids, I don't know about y'all, but verbatim, I've had to tell each of my kids, each of my daughters, this is not real. I don't know if y'all had to do this. But you have to tell your kids, social media is not real. Like the stuff that they're doing, like the stuff that they do on YouTube and these challenges and the things that they do, like this is made up. Like they'll do something and then they'll cut. And then they'll go back and then they'll edit and they'll do it. And that's what this is. And they had no clue. It's like you have to coach your kids on what's going on, because they don't understand. They see it and they think it's real.
Oh, you think because perfect is perfect?
Because
right.
Because at school, someone said it's popping, and the first one to say it and the second one to co-sign it makes it all that everybody else needs. That's all everybody. That's all everybody else needs.
All right, so let me address a couple of things real quick. For one, I'm the person that everybody says, like, yo, why you being so stickling about the word that's being used? Like everything ain't so semantic. Like, nigga, stop being so semantic about. But semantics are intentions, and if you don't understand those intentions, then you dare to harm the people after you who don't have the feeling you have in the moment, and later on understand the wordings and how they are felt later on.
It matters, yeah.
So to me, it matters. So I understand I'm the semantics nigga. I get that. Understand this about certain fights that we will have within the group sometimes. And there are fights about where we want to go. There are fights about how any of us want to be represented in the moment. I never want kids nowadays to feel like I felt in the moment when I felt alienated by a group who felt like we just would never get it. And that's how I felt about the baby boomers. I felt that they thought that because we got computers that we were just never going to get it. And I don't want to take that future opportunity for this group and let them feel like they're not capable of grasping it and putting it together. Go ahead.
The biggest difference between what's going on, and I feel like it's a detriment, especially with the Josh situation. If you look at him, and I don't like to talk about relationships with fathers too much, but if you look at his relationship with his father, you can kind of see.
I was getting to that.
This is difficult. This is difficult for me. If you see the relationship with his father, you can tell that there's a close gap in, I don't want to say maturity,
in age,
in perspective.
No, we're not talking about age.
It's perspective.
We're talking about perspective and understanding.
They have a closeness.
Let me give you that.
They have a closeness in their perspective. So with his pops, he understands. Like, if let's just say
nigga, you doing the Dougie on the sideline.
That's what I'm saying. Let's just say my 18-year-old or my 8-year-old, they're doing something and it's popping. I don't need to get on I don't feel the need to get on social media and be like, I need to be popping too. I don't feel that. You do whatever it is you're doing, and we're gonna videotape whatever. But with the proximity that we have now with the generations, our generation a little bit younger with our kids, we're both figuring this thing out. So that makes it even more difficult. Like JR was saying, we're figuring this social media thing out.
I don't want to seem like I'm condoning
No, go ahead.
anybody's behavior, right? Well, the first thing I want to say is, to me, John Moran is not a grown man yet.
Thank you.
He to me is still a young,
fucking child,
immature man. I'm not going to say call it child, but
you're right.
He's closer to being there than being a grown man, and he's not making grown man decisions at this time. And just because you give somebody millions of dollars isn't going to automatically make them a mature, responsible adult.
I agree.
I'm not here to speak upon the example that is being set by his pops, but he's to me, it's more of I'd rather be your friend than be your father. And I'm one of the first ones that I will say there's a huge difference. I mean, that's just me. I'm not never going to be one to tell somebody else how to parent their own kid, but I have no desire to be my child's
I'm not your friend. I'm not your friend.
At all. Now, once you are a grown person, then we can start talking about friendships. But part of his immaturity is watching what the example that's being set for him. Now, unfortunately, his time is like you said, is social media, being on TikTok, doing the songs, and my problem with the whole thing is asking, what exactly did he do that was illegal? Now, I understand that he did something that maybe the job had an issue with, because that's what this was about. This was him being punished.
He's not in any legal trouble at all.
Right. This was about him being punished by the NBA, which created this entire situation. It's like this was alluded to earlier. He's in
here's what it says,
which is the patron saint of shooting stuff and open carry and everything else. So if you're a product of the environment, and this was what a certain segment of our country prides itself on, is gun ownership.
Second Amendment. Yeah.
So explain to me again what exactly, and I know I'm not saying if we're going having the role model conversation.
Here's what it is. And I mean, bro, this is on everything. Here's what happened, bro. He doesn't get this. You know how we talking about Bobert and the Christmas cards? Bitch, you sitting with a gun. With a Christmas card.
But that's glorified.
No, hold on. I'm talking about the fact that we sit there and say, can you believe this bitch? Then we, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. And then here we have John Morant, and we're like, dude, you that dude. You the bunny hop, quick step, jump, dread dude. Bruh, why are you in the club? And here's the whole point at the end of the day, besides making mistakes, and we get it. Bruh, I'm with you on making mistakes. Trust me, as a young man. But what I want to say is, dude, do you not get this factor? No one else is doing that. Have you not caught that factor? Nigga, there's not one more dude. There's not one more guy who's on tape posting it his motherfucking self. Are you kidding me? To put yourself in a position to lose all of what you work for. And you're the only one who told somebody you were doing that.
Let me ask you a question.
God.
And I'm with you on the illegal thing, right? I'm with you. The Second Amendment, it is legal. He hasn't broken any laws.
There was no TMZ.
He hasn't broken any laws at all, right?
Yeah.
He hasn't broken any laws. We can
at all.
Let's establish that baseline. Okay. So let me ask you a question. So, what do you wear at your job? What articles do you wear? Is it business casual?
Is it
uniform? I wear a suit.
You wear a suit?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. You wear a suit. Mm-hmm. Is it illegal to wear Timberlands and jeans and basketball jersey and a backwards hat?
No, it's not illegal.
Would you wear that to work?
Against the rules.
Would you wear that to work?
I wouldn't wear it to work.
Why not? It's not legal.
Because it's not appropriate. At work.
Yes.
At work.
Yes. At work.
If I'm sitting in the car.
Hold on.
Don't hit us with
I got you. And I'm about to go.
Everybody had a picture of them taking.
I'm about to go.
If you don't post it, we don't know.
I'm about to go.
Go ahead.
So you wouldn't do that at work?
Right.
Okay. Does John Morant ever get paid for anything he does on social media?
No.
Yeah, no, yes, he does.
I don't know.
I don't
Yes,
know.
he does.
I don't know.
Yes, he does.
You mean
yes. Athletes get
you mean
paid.
other stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, for the other stuff.
That is
yes.
part. That is their image.
Yes.
Their
The
image
Memphis
gets their
Grizzlies
money.
stuff, he gets paid.
The image gets their money, right? So
Right.
that's part of their job.
Okay.
So he's at his job when he's on social media. It's different between us. Us as regular folk, we don't get any of that shit. So we can post on social media all day. We don't get no money for it. It's no ramification. Oh, we don't represent anybody when we go on social media.
But what if
nobody's snorting coke.
what if
and
I'm
posting
working for the
it.
NRA?
Nobody's
No.
What if I'm
nobody's
doing
holding a gun.
No. He's being punished by the NBA right now, right? He worked.
Not right now.
He worked.
Not right now, he's
but,
not.
But he worked for the NBA.
Right.
Right now,
facilities are closed.
He worked for the NBA. Okay.
he does not work for the NBA.
He works for the Memphis Grizzlies, who are part of the NBA,
but
the National Basketball
Right. Okay.
Let's be
Okay.
specific.
His
But
checks come from.
he does not work for the NRA.
No.
Right?
Actually, we don't know that.
So what I'm
True.
what-
Let's
what
be
I'm
factual.
saying is, what
But
I'm
he's
saying
my brother.
is, if I am a man, your obligation is to what you've committed to. Okay, so your everything that's coming back right now is you could come up with all. See, the problem is we're calling with these excuses.
That's
when,
why
when you
we have
sign-
an acute
when
conversation.
you sign up for something, man, damn, honor what you sign up for, dude. And I'm not going to bail you out of this. I'm not going to bail you out of the idea that you're here. Oh, you're young and you're
If there was
the bottom
something in
line
this
is,
contract that said that he couldn't have a gun or he
And put it online.
then I understand
that's
it.
fine.
You are absolutely right. But if there is nothing in the paperwork that says anything about that, again,
Fine.
nobody has gotten me past.
I love it.
What is the law that he broke? And I get that.
They had
Look,
no.
Put it this way.
And no one is accused him of breaking the law. Let me tell you, it's worse than the law. He's been accused of breaking the common sense rules.
Stop.
Who tells what they do in private?
Hex, stop. I'm going to say something really uncomfortable, and I want everybody to just understand where I'm going with this.
Okay.
What Ja Morant is doing is breaking what Bill Cosby went through with all of our favorite comedians. You don't have to do this. And I want to say this not because Bill Cosby was wrong for saying this. It's because he overstepped because of other things he did. He was trying to say to Richard Pryor, he was trying to say to Eddie Murphy, he was trying to say to all these younger comedians, you don't have to do this. Now, what he said was not necessarily wrong. The problem was what we learned later and everything else, and about the fact that you're blowing up creativity that came across. Ja Morant is not breaking laws. What he's doing is screwing other kids who have opportunities in the future for being able to be the face, because this is what we haven't said to everyone that's listening right now. The face of the NBA is something that is most appropriately reported to a American kid who can be one of the greatest ever out there. It doesn't mean that they're the greatest ever. It just means right now you get a chance to be the guy. And there aren't English, American speaking children out there who are the head of the NBA. What he's doing is making it harder to market those kids. So let's not get into the whole legality of this, that, and the other. That's a part of what it is. But the problem really is about what are you representing for the young black man in America who's trying to be this thing, who has the opportunity to be this thing. He's not the worst kid. He's not the baddest kid out there, and he's definitely not the one he's representing in front of these people, in front of $5 strip clubs who snuck in a gun. You're not dope. You're not hard. I've been in strip clubs with way more guns in smaller places. You're not that kid. But again, what he is showing you is that his heights were never dreamt of being this high. And he never understood that he could be this big. And he never understood how to carry that. And that's also what his father reflects. So let's be clear on what we're saying about him. It's not to say you're a bad kid. It's not to say you're a bad grown man. It's not to say that you are harming anyone. What you're doing is you're detracting the opportunities of future people to be able to get something so immediately that should be available to them if you had simply thought about people aside from you. Because even the people hanging on your coattails are losing money with the decisions you're making, and you are carrying all of them. And as somebody who has family from South Carolina, I can tell you, there aren't as many opportunities for those people that people don't know the names of, even if they know their IGs, that are losing money because you're making these decisions.
That's, to me, that last statement was rang more true. It's more about the people that are losing money. I don't think that his behavior is affecting anybody behind him. The only person that Ja Morant is fucking is Ja Morant right now. Because the next Ja Morant, if he was available right now and there was people that could put money behind him, this Ja Morant will be forgotten or step to the side and be a regular NBA journeyman, and the next guy would step in this place that they can market. Until this guy becomes responsible for himself and his actions, when he's mature enough to understand what is the right and wrong thing to do, when he's mature enough to understand what is the right and wrong place to be in, he's going to continue to make these mistakes, unfortunately. Yeah. So when he gets to the point where I understand the level of responsibility I have, and again, the amount of money that you make does not make you a mature individual that makes good decisions
at all.
And when you make more money, I got to say it, when you make more money than your folks do, how much is it that your folks are going to be talking about?
Here's the issue, though, for real. This is sad because it's not his fault.
No, it's not a blame game.
No.
This is the reality of
what
the
I'm saying. Because of how the media game works, he happens to be hot enough to matter. And if he didn't matter, because guess what? There's a bunch of other dudes doing something similar, and they really don't even matter
right now.
And so it doesn't matter. Yeah. And so what happens? He's just that big. He's an underdog. Mm-hmm. The dude who nobody was giving a scholarship to coming out of high school. He was playing he was shooting ball in an extra gym when there was an AAU tournament going on. He had no scholarships. And what happened is
Damian Lillard is that guy that you just said. He don't do none of this.
He had I'm not. It's he not, don't it's do not none the background. Of that. I'm just defining who he is for those who don't know. For those who don't know, the story is he didn't have a scholarship at all, right? He got one because he was playing ball.
And you're making excuses for.
No, it's not at all. No. I'm giving you a backdrop. I'm with Dame Lillard all day. Come on, Weber State. Come on, I'm with all day. Don't get it confused. I'm a hoop dude. But I'm saying that for those who don't know who he actually is, because, most people don't actually have a clue, and he just happens to be a great NBA player now. It's like voila. And all I'm saying is here's a guy who was an underdog who has, as KG mentioned a couple of times, his father, as you see the guy, have you noticed this? Is anybody else's dad at the game?
Yes.
At every game.
Yes.
Everybody's there.
Everybody's dad sitting courtside.
He's just not being
just his dad. Nigga, come on.
His dad is the one being demonstrative and jumping and trying to act like he's the young.
That's what I'm talking.
Yep.
We're saying the same thing.
We're saying the same thing. I said it's anybody else's dad sitting at the damn game. No
issue. No.
Ain't nobody else at the game but his dad.
Acting a fool.
Say
the next.
What we're saying.
So I don't agree. I simply want to say, how long did John?
He don't have an example.
John Morant stay in Memphis? Was it Memphis?
It's a small enough city that it would.
No, but how long did he stay in college?
He wasn't
in Memphis.
He was at 3 years.
He
wasn't at Memphis. No, sorry. He went to Murray. He went to Murray State.
How long?
I think he was there
3 years.
3 years. Okay, cool. Okay.
Because his coach found him at an AAU game or something. Like he said, he wasn't highly recruited.
He didn't get a single scholarship.
He was a two-star recruit.
But what happened was they went to the NCAA tournament and he completely showed out.
So at the end of the day, there's a level, and whether y'all like it or not, we talk about the Don Cheneys, we talk about the John Thompsons. We talk about it. There's something to be said for those years of development. I know he say 3 years, but it's something to be said about that coach. And people, we overestimate it. We overestimate the idea. Oh well, we went there and there's something to be said about those conversations that happen beyond that come beyond something that's whatever. There's something to be said about it,
Bruh.
because it's something to be said about
How many of y'all know Rosa Parks?
The Bush Beards. There's something to be said.
Name
about,
right now how many people on this pod knows who Rosa Parks is.
Okay.
Tell me what her job was.
I couldn't
Exactly.
tell you.
She was a
That's-
secretary.
She had done secretary work. She also did dressmaking. The most important thing is that it doesn't matter what your job was when you make a statement that changes the world. And it's not on him to change the world. And that's what I'm trying to explain and respect about everything that Irv was just saying about him. Yes, it's not everything about that, but this is why this is so important. I'm not talking about Ja Morant because he made a decision. I'm talking about Ja Morant because the decisions he's making are making world-changing decisions.
Hey man, I'm
Go ahead.
gonna tell you what. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
we've run over.
We run over.
This segment, I did not know this was.
I
I did
did.
not know this.
Ja, get it together, bro.
Yes,
Yeah, that's facts.
please get it together. We love watching you play ball, and we love the fact that you're successful.
And we want you to be even
And
more.
we want you to be a
see
beast.
play.
We want to see you
Yeah.
play, but at the same
But don't
time,
tell on yourself.
Yeah, there's
I
certain
don't care if you keep doing. I'm gonna put it out there,
Lord Jesus.
and I hate to say that part because everybody's doing what they do. But I don't care if you do what you do. Stop telling the world you're doing it. Okay, Dexter. Oh boy, I could go down the list of people who've done wrong.
Well, how about I tell you
Who
what.
did not tell the world, but somehow other people told
I tell
on them. But you don't tell on yourself, bruh.
You know-
And I'm gonna tell you to do wrong, to be a sneak. But I'm telling you, don't be your own worst enemy.
You don't have to
Shit.
you don't have to go down the list of people to tell that, but I need you to go through your shout outs. Heck, shout outs.
Shout out to my daughter, her last little volleyball.
Lola.
They ain't won a game. They lost again today. Before I came, they lost again today, man. They won some games, but they ain't won the match. You got to win 2 out of 3 to win the match.
We're gonna get you. We're gonna build.
And we got 2 more opportunities, and that's next week. And and first of all, shout out to her for because she put up points. She served, she put points up. But we need a whole team.
Gotta get a
It take
win.
a whole,
We gotta
it
get a
take a
win.
whole mighty fist. Strike a
Like a mighty blow.
And so shout out to her. Shout out to my man Gunner.
Gun.
Whatever's going on, bro, keep fighting.
Love you, bro.
Whatever you're dealing with, keep
Yes, sir.
keep
Yes, sir.
trying.
Love you, boy.
Whatever's got you away, keep just
Fight.
keep
Fight.
praying,
Yeah.
Shout out to y'all for being here. Shout out to those who listen. Shout out to those who care about making things different, having a conversation about it. We're not changing. We're having a conversation to make people involved and consistently know that there are other people who have the same conversations and wants and desires and questions and enjoy the dialogue about it.
Yep.
So shout out to UDK.
Yes, sir. Irv, shout out.
A shout out to DJ Thunder and Powerhouse Radio. I definitely got to shout out my Urbanators,
Yeah,
man.
sir.
I want to give a special shout out to my pops, man. He's patiently trying to wait for some medical stuff to occur.
Love you, Pops.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
keep
man.
your patience, keep your head about you. We almost at the finish line, bro.
Yes, sir.
I want to shout out my oldest daughter. I want to shout out anybody that's graduating in this
Yeah.
season, but
go.
especially you, man. I'm so proud
23.
of you making it happen, babe. I want to shout out my youngest daughter. She just had her first surgery today, which is just
Hang in there.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster, but she's doing well.
Yes.
And I want to shout out. Got to shout out to like Jr. said earlier. I want to shout out Tina Turner. Her
All day.
effect on the music industry has just been remarkable.
And
Her
on
life
women in
story is just remarkable. Just want to shout
83.
out to a true artist, and I also want to shout out Jim Brown and his family.
All day.
Yeah.
I had the chance to see some of what some people would call the greatest running back that ever ran.
That's
So
crazy.
just want to shout out to anybody that's lost loved ones, and to keep your head up and keep yourself prayed up, and shout out to the UDK podcast, bro.
Sir. KG, shout out.
I want to give a shout out to people who have the opportunity to understand their worth. For the John Morants of the world and other people, just understand that if no one knows your name, you're online and you're listening to other people and you're just trying to figure out your way. What's important is that you understand your worth, your opportunity for you to figure out yourself. Forget about how that'll change the world. Forget about everything that has anything to do with growing further than that. It's about you. You be you. Everything else is happenstance and the accreditations that can come after that. Only be you. We have plenty of opportunities out here to look at other examples and try to be like them, and that's great if you want to search for that. But your real opportunity is to live your best life. And I want to fight for everyone who wants to fight for their own best life. And everything after that, let it fall by the wayside. It's not your responsibility.
Indeed. JR, shout out.
Hey, I just want to, again, you know I like to piggyback off people, but what KG has said about finding your way. And there's a particular, shout out to all my brothers, but there's a brother right now that came into this, and I'm looking at him right now. He came into this pod tonight with a lot going on. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when you talk about John Morant, you talk about whatever, buckle up, brother, because there's something called life that's coming in, and it's going to come at you quick. It's going to come at you in waves and waves, and you're going to still have to stand up and be that man, and you're not going to be able to just brush it off by waving a gun. You're going to have to deal with the live fire, okay? And I have a brother who came in here today, and when I saw him come in here today, it was a lot going on, okay? But he told me he was going to dust it off and he was going to get it done. There was times during the intermission where I could see it was weighing on him. But he came in, he got it done. Shout out to everybody who just hangs in there through adversity and still has to put that best foot forward, put that best face forward, because that's what it takes to be a man, okay? It's not how many likes you get on social media. It's that I'm going to finish the job that I dedicated myself to start, okay? And at the end of the day, I give a shout out to my brother who's held it and he knows who he is. And Jay, I just want to end it on that, man.
Easy.
All day.
What's your shout outs?
I'm not following that. Shout out to anybody who's ever listened to this podcast. Shout out to anybody listening to this podcast. Shout out to anybody who will listen to this podcast. Bookmark or save for later. Like, oh shit, this shit is dope. They send somebody listen to it. Oh shit, this shit is dope. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. And we're gonna do this next week. I'll try to be here. I don't know, but we will do this next week because y'all can't get rid of us. Hex, give me one.
UDK.
That four-letter word I couldn't say, yeah. You was concerned. What am I waiting for? It's all but a game. I know that you need more. It's all on your face. It's telling me, just say you love me. Just say yeah. Just say you love me. Say yeah. Say yeah. Was it love or attention? And this tension is on my mind. Was it all just a sentence? Left you waiting like you try. For a sign